for about 3 weeks before that, and I literally would not let it go. Everywhere I went, I was keeping hold of it because I knew this thing, if it disappeared, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
At 8:17 on the morning of November 29th, something unprecedented occurred. Prince William and Princess Catherine issued their first ever joint statement addressing a family matter, choosing words that left no room for misinterpretation. "We have become aware of a coordinated plan to undermine our family during the most sacred season. We will not remain silent while such actions threaten those we are bound to protect." The statement appeared simultaneously across Kensington Palace's official channels, bearing both William's and Catherine's names, a detail that immediately signalled extraordinary circumstances. In the modern history of the Wales family, Catherine had never co-signed a statement on a family controversy, maintaining her signature dignified silence through years of speculation, criticism, and provocation. But today, that silence broke. What made the moment so striking was not merely the reference to a coordinated plan, which sent journalists scrambling for context, but the unity it represented. William and Catherine speaking with one voice, drawing a line together. The symbolism was unmistakable. This was not William acting as future king, while Catherine stood supportively in the background. This was a couple, partners, jointly defending their family against a threat serious enough to abandon their usual policy of rising above controversy. The controversy unfolded rapidly. Within minutes, the BBC interrupted its morning programming, and the anchor reading the statement live paused noticeably at the phrase "coordinated plan." "This is extraordinary language from Kensington Palace," she said, looking directly into the camera. "The Prince and Princess of Wales are publicly confirming they have discovered some kind of organised effort against them, and they are responding together in a way we have never seen before." Sky News assembled an emergency panel before 9 o'clock, where royal correspondents sat visibly shocked. One veteran journalist, who had covered the family for 30 years, remarked that Catherine never speaks publicly about family matters, never, and for her to co-sign this statement meant that whatever had been discovered was severe enough to override the privacy she had cultivated for more than 2 decades. Across the Atlantic, where the news had just broken on the East Coast, American networks scrambled to interpret the plan referenced in the statement. CNN's breaking banner read, "William and Catherine accuse Meghan of secret campaign," while CBS described it as the most direct accusation ever made by working royals against a family member in the modern era. Within 20 minutes, the statement had been shared more than 300,000 times on social media. Reactions split predictably along existing fault lines, but even those sympathetic to Meghan recognized that William and Catherine speaking together represented a seismic shift in royal family dynamics. Outside Kensington Palace, journalists stationed for routine coverage suddenly found themselves at the center of the biggest royal story in months. One reporter, bundled against the late November cold, spoke into her camera with barely contained excitement. In all her years covering the family, she had never seen William and Catherine issue a joint statement about internal conflict. Their decision to speak publicly indicated that whatever plan they had uncovered was serious enough to break decades of protocol. Inside the palace, senior staff moved with a mixture of relief and apprehension. Relief that the agonized decision to go public had been made, and apprehension because once the statement was released, the battle became overt rather than covert, and its consequences were unpredictable. What struck seasoned royal observers most was the careful language. William and Catherine had not named Meghan explicitly, though the reference was unmistakable. They had not detailed the plan, leaving that mystery to drive speculation, but they had confirmed its existence, validated their awareness, and made clear they would defend against it. The statement walked a precise line between disclosure and discretion. The statement walked a careful line between discretion and disclosure, strength and restraint, and for older British viewers, especially those who remembered Diana's bitter public battles with the palace, it carried unmistakable echoes of that painful era, though with one crucial difference. This time, the couple at the center stood together, united and unshakable. In the United States, where Meghan's story had long resonated more deeply, the reaction was immediate and sharply divided. Morning shows dissected what kind of plan could possibly justify such an unprecedented response from William and Catherine, while social media exploded with theories ranging from documentary projects and tell-all books to coordinated media campaigns. Beneath all the speculation, however, one truth became impossible to overlook. Whatever Meghan had been planning, William and Catherine had discovered it, and they were not going to let it proceed unchallenged. What could be so threatening that it compelled two famously discreet individuals to speak publicly, for the first time together, about family conflict? The answer, shared only in confidential briefings with senior palace officials and close family members, proved far more calculated, comprehensive, and personally targeted than almost anyone outside the inner circle could have imagined. The plan did not surface through a single dramatic revelation, but emerged slowly over November, pieced together by palace intelligence teams monitoring media inquiries, tracking digital footprints, and analyzing patterns that initially seemed coincidental. By mid-month, those patterns formed a picture too clear to dismiss. It began in early November, when Anne received an unusual briefing from the Royal Communications Monitoring Unit. There had been a spike in media inquiries about Catherine, but not the typical requests tied to public appearances. These inquiries hinted at private information, posed oddly specific questions about charitable decisions, and seemed crafted to provoke responses that could be framed negatively. Having spent decades identifying the early stages of coordinated media offensives, and immediately raised the alarm to William, telling him during a private meeting at Windsor, "Someone is planting stories, and they're doing it strategically, testing which narratives gain traction before committing to larger releases." William authorized a deeper investigation, and over the following 2 weeks, his team uncovered a situation far more extensive than anyone had anticipated. The inquiries traced back to a newly formed media production company based in California, with documented ties to individuals in Meghan's professional circle. The company appeared to be developing a documentary project with a working title referencing untold royal truths and the woman who threatened the institution, but the documentary was only one part of the strategy. Palace investigators, working through contacts in American publishing, discovered that a book proposal was circulating simultaneously. Described in pitch documents as a definitive corrective to royal narratives, the manuscript allegedly included previously undisclosed details about Catherine's role in Meghan's departure, suggesting behavior ranging from coldness to active obstruction. The plan's sophistication lay in its timing. Both the documentary and the book were scheduled for release during the Christmas season, a period when the royal family traditionally unites around public service and shared celebration, giving the narrative maximum media impact. The messaging would portray Meghan as finally revealing the complete truth, positioned against Catherine as the figure who had made her royal life impossible. The third, and perhaps most insidious, element involved multiple American media outlets, particularly those sympathetic to Meghan, which were approached with coordinated talking points. These outlets would receive exclusive information and release stories within a compressed timeframe, creating the appearance of independent validation. The stories focused on Catherine's alleged emotional instability, supposed jealousy of Meghan's initial popularity, and claimed role in encouraging palace staff to make Meghan's life difficult. Catherine herself learned of the plan's details during a private briefing. Catherine learned the full details of the plan during a private briefing at Kensington Palace in mid-November. She listened in silence as communications advisors outlined the scope of the operation. When they finished, she asked only one question: how much of this targeted their children indirectly by attacking her parenting? The answer, delivered carefully, confirmed her fears. Several elements of the planned narrative suggested that her focus on early childhood development stemmed from personal anxieties, a subtle but unmistakable attempt to undermine her most significant public work. Sitting beside his wife, William felt a hardening resolve take hold. For years, he had absorbed provocations, media manipulation, and family tension while maintaining public silence, believing that dignity and restraint would eventually exhaust those seeking conflict. But this calculated, multi-platform strategy, specifically targeting Catherine during the Christmas season, attacking her work, and implicitly questioning her parenting, crossed a line he could no longer ignore. Princess Anne's assessment during a follow-up meeting was characteristically blunt. This is not a response to perceived grievances. This is warfare, and warfare requires a strategic response, not continued silence. What truly stunned palace officials, however, was the level of coordination involved. The documentary, book, and media campaign appeared designed to reinforce one another, creating a narrative echo chamber that would make Meghan's version of events appear validated through multiple independent sources, even though all traced back to a single origin. King Charles, briefed on the scope of the plan, reacted with visible distress. Having spent months hoping that time and distance would cool family tensions, he was devastated to learn that those tensions had evolved into an organized public relations offensive targeting his daughter-in-law. In a private conversation with William, he admitted, I wanted to believe reconciliation remained possible. But you cannot reconcile with someone actively planning to destroy another family member's reputation. The final confirmation of the plan's seriousness came from an unexpected source. A mid-level media executive, troubled by what they were being asked to participate in, quietly reached out to contacts who passed information to palace officials. The media executive described being approached with what was framed as a justice project intended to correct misconceptions about Meghan's royal experience. However, as they reviewed the materials, it became clear that the project was less about clarification and more about constructing a narrative that cast Catherine as the villain in Meghan's story. By late November, William and Catherine faced a pivotal decision: maintain their traditional silence, allowing the plan to unfold and respond reactively as each element launched, or break precedent, publicly acknowledge the plan, and preemptively undermine its credibility by revealing it as a coordinated effort rather than organic truth-telling. Once they fully understood what they were confronting, the decision was straightforward. Catherine, who had always avoided public family conflict, recognized that protecting her children and her life's work required abandoning her preference for privacy. William, who had long shielded his wife from the worst of royal infighting, understood that this time strength would come not from silent protection, but from standing beside her in public unity. Before taking this unprecedented step, the palace attempted 3 separate interventions aimed at halting Meghan's plan without public confrontation. Each warning, delivered with increasing urgency, was ignored or dismissed, leaving William convinced that private diplomacy had run its course. The first came in early November, through the only channel still occasionally functional between the Wales and Sussex households. A carefully worded message sent through Harry. Drafted personally by William, the note was direct but non-hostile, informing Harry that the palace had become aware of media projects targeting Catherine and requesting that he use his influence to prevent them from proceeding. William avoided direct accusations and threats, instead appealing to Harry as a brother and father who understood the importance of protecting family. The message concluded with a line William had debated but ultimately included: "Some boundaries once crossed cannot be uncrossed. I hope we can avoid reaching that point." 3 days later, Harry's response arrived defensive and dismissive. He denied any knowledge of a coordinated plan, suggested the palace was being paranoid, and accused William of continuing to view Meghan through suspicion rather than giving her the benefit of the doubt. The reply contained no indication that he would investigate or intervene, effectively rejecting the premise that any threat existed. William shared Harry's dismissive response with Catherine, who read it silently before saying quietly, "He either doesn't know or he doesn't want to know. Either way, we cannot rely on him to stop this." The second warning, delivered in mid-November, took a more formal approach. Palace legal advisors sent a carefully crafted cease and desist letter to the California-based production company developing the documentary. The letter sought to avoid escalating conflict while establishing a legal record, noting that the palace had reason to believe the project would include false claims about members of the royal family, specifically Catherine. It did not threaten immediate legal action, but requested transparency about the project's content and warned that the palace would vigorously defend against defamatory material. A meeting was requested to discuss concerns before the project advanced further. The tone was professional and measured, designed to create dialogue rather than confrontation. The production company's response, delivered through their attorneys, was equally formal but dismissive. They asserted that the project was protected speech, addressing none of the specific concerns about false claims. Regarding Catherine, William immediately recognized that legal warnings alone would not halt the plan. The company appeared confident that the palace's traditional reluctance to engage in protracted public legal battles would shield them from meaningful consequences, and they proceeded accordingly. The third and final warning came from the most unexpected source: King Charles himself. In late November, Charles drafted a personal, heartfelt letter to Meghan. It did not accuse or threaten, but appealed to shared family connection and humanity. Charles acknowledged that mistakes had been made on all sides during Meghan's time as a working royal, and expressed understanding that she might feel hurt or misunderstood. Yet he also asked directly that she not pursue actions that would deliberately harm Catherine, who had consistently sought to welcome her while now raising 3 young children and managing substantial public responsibilities. The letter's final paragraph reportedly read, "I have lost too much already to family division. I do not wish to lose more, but I cannot stand by while one member of my family orchestrates the destruction of another's reputation. I am asking you, as your father-in-law, who wishes you well, to choose a different path." Charles sent the letter through secure channels to ensure it reached Meghan directly, and waited 2 weeks for a response. None came. The silence itself was an answer. Meghan had decided that pursuing her plan mattered more than preserving any remaining family relationships. When William learned that even his father's personal appeal had been ignored, the last constraint on his own response dissolved. Private communication had failed, legal warnings had failed, heartfelt pleading had failed. Every avenue to avoid public confrontation had been exhausted, and intelligence monitoring indicated the plan was still moving toward its intended Christmas season launch. During a late November evening at Kensington Palace, William and Catherine sat together reviewing the timeline of failed warnings. Catherine, who had hoped until the end that private resolution might be possible, finally acknowledged what William had already accepted. "She's not going to stop," Catherine said quietly. "And if we don't defend ourselves publicly, the narrative she creates will become the narrative everyone believes." William took his wife's hand. "Then we speak together, not with anger, but with clarity. We confirm that we know what's being planned, and make clear that we won't allow it to proceed without response." It was a decision that would lead to the unprecedented joint statement released at 8:17 on the morning of November 29th. The three ignored warnings had proven that private diplomacy could not stop what was coming. Only public acknowledgement could preemptively undermine a plan that depended on appearing organic rather than coordinated. Catherine's breaking point. Throughout her years as Princess of Wales, Catherine had absorbed extraordinary pressure with remarkable grace. She had endured constant comparison to Diana, navigated pregnancy announcements becoming global news, raised 3 children under microscopic scrutiny, and built a body of serious work around early childhood development while tabloids focused relentlessly on her wardrobe. Through it all, she had maintained almost superhuman composure, rarely showing strain, never publicly complaining, embodying the royal ideal of service without self-pity. But the discovery of Meghan's plan, particularly its personal targeting of her and the indirect attacks on her parenting, struck at something deeper than professional dignity. It touched her identity as a mother, as a woman who had dedicated years to understanding child development, and as someone who had always tried, however imperfectly, to be kind to Meghan during her brief time as a working royal. The breaking point came during a private conversation with William in late November. They were at Adelaide Cottage, their Windsor residence, with their children asleep upstairs. Catherine had spent the day reviewing the full intelligence briefing on Meghan's plan, including the narrative elements designed to question her emotional stability and suggest that her early childhood work stemmed from personal inadequacy rather than genuine commitment. "That I have never responded publicly to anything said about me," Catherine told William, her voice steady but strained. "I have let people make assumptions, spread lies, create entire fictional versions of who I am. I accepted that as part of the role. But this is different. This isn't tabloid speculation. This is a calculated campaign designed to destroy credibility. I have spent 15 years building work that matters to me." That she paused, swallowing the rising frustration, before continuing, "that impacts real children and families. And now someone wants to turn it into a weapon against me and, indirectly, against our children." William squeezed her hand. "Then we speak. Together. Not out of anger, but to protect what matters most." And in that quiet moment, with the night surrounding them and the weight of countless years of restraint pressing down, Catherine knew the line had been crossed. The time for silence was over. In the quiet of Adelaide Cottage, William listened as Catherine, for the first time in their marriage, crossed a threshold she had never approached before. She told him that while she had spent years absorbing criticism with dignity, the newly discovered campaign, one that targeted her work, her character, and even her parenting, had pierced deeper than any past provocation. Her composure cracked as she explained that the attacks focused on her precisely because targeting William directly would appear too obvious, and using her as a proxy allowed others to damage the family while framing it as personal grievance. She spoke of George, Charlotte, and Louis eventually reading claims that their mother had driven a family member away, or that her early childhood advocacy was a mask for inadequacy. And she said plainly she could not allow such a narrative to stand unchallenged. For William, it was the clearest expression of personal pain he had ever heard from her. She was not seeking his permission, but declaring that her long-held silence, once a form of dignity, had reached its limit. The roles between them had reversed. Catherine, normally the voice of patience, was now ready to abandon privacy, and William's resolve hardened as he realized the depth of her hurt. He told her they would respond together not with anger or point-by-point rebuttals, but with clarity that they understood what was being planned and would not face it silently. Their unprecedented decision to issue a joint statement grew directly from that moment. Catherine was no longer asking William to defend her, but joining him in defending their family, their children's future, and the work she had built through years of quiet commitment. Princess and, briefed on their decision, offered firm support, telling Catherine that restraint had its limits and that speaking now was not a loss of dignity, but an assertion of truth. Queen Camilla, who knew personally what it meant to endure orchestrated attacks, expressed her own understanding and empathy, reinforcing to Catherine that choosing to speak was not merely justified but necessary. During a private tea at Clarence House, Camilla spoke candidly to Catherine, sharing hard-earned insight from her own experiences. "I waited too long to defend myself, believing that engagement with attackers only elevated their importance. I was wrong. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself, and for those who support you, is to acknowledge that you are under attack, and that you will not accept it quietly," she told her. Over the following days, William and Catherine worked closely with communications advisors to craft a joint statement, carefully weighing each word to be strong without inflaming, clear without revealing unnecessary details, and unified without seeming defensive. Catherine insisted that the statement explicitly emphasize protection of family. It must not appear to be about her ego or reputation, but about safeguarding the family unit, their children's future, and the boundaries that protect them all. By the evening of November 28th, the final draft was complete, and the couple reviewed it together one last time. Catherine, reading the words that would mark her first public acknowledgement of family conflict, felt both sadness and resolve: sadness that circumstances had brought them here, and resolve that she would not allow those she loved to be harmed by a coordinated campaign. William offered her one final opportunity to reconsider. Looking at her husband, the future king, the father of her children, and her partner through every trial, she replied with certainty, "We protect what matters, and right now that means speaking." At 8:17 the next morning, their unprecedented joint statement went public, and Catherine, who had spent 15 years proving that strength could be quiet, demonstrated that sometimes strength must also be vocal. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within the first hour, the statement had been viewed over 2 million times, and by midday it dominated every major news cycle, fundamentally altering perceptions of royal family dynamics. In Britain, the reaction was largely supportive. Polling conducted within hours indicated that 73% of respondents backed William and Catherine's decision to speak publicly, reaching 81% among viewers over 50. Thousands of calls and messages poured into the BBC, largely praising the couple for finally setting a clear boundary. One woman from Manchester encapsulated the prevailing sentiment. "Catherine has been nothing but dignified for 15 years. If she and William felt compelled to speak publicly, then the threat must have been severe, and it was right to defend themselves." Social media echoed this support, amplifying a sense of approval across the UK. William and Catherine trended across social media throughout the day. The phrase "coordinated plan," taken directly from their statement, quickly became shorthand for what many viewed as Meghan's ongoing campaign against the working royals. In the United States, reactions split sharply along existing fault lines. But even there, the unprecedented nature of William and Catherine speaking together shifted perspectives. Morning show panels debated what could drive two people famed for discretion to break their silence so dramatically. Commentators sympathetic to Meghan still acknowledged that the joint statement represented a serious escalation, signaling that whatever provocation the couple faced was significant. One CBS analyst captured the magnitude succinctly. In royal terms, William and Catherine speaking publicly about family conflict is equivalent to launching a nuclear option. They do not act lightly, and they do not respond to minor grievances. Whatever plan they had discovered was enough to override every instinct toward privacy they had cultivated. Inside Kensington Palace, staff described a mix of relief and anxiety. Relief that the statement had been executed, anxiety about the potential response from California and the next phase of this public conflict. According to sources close to the couple, Harry was blindsided. He had dismissed William's earlier private warnings as paranoia, but seeing the statement publicly confirm a coordinated plan apparently revealed the extent of palace intelligence about Meghan's projects. His response in the hours afterward was described as a mixture of shock, defensiveness, and concern that the plan had been exposed before it could launch. The effectiveness of the campaign had relied on appearing organic documentary, book, and media coverage seemingly emerging naturally, but William and Catherine's statement preemptively dismantled that facade. Meghan's own response was notable for its absence. No public statements, no social media posts, leaving a vacuum quickly filled by speculation. Palace officials provided carefully calibrated context to trusted correspondents, confirming that the coordinated plan involved multiple media projects timed for Christmas, specifically targeting Catherine's charitable work and personal reputation. The decision to speak publicly, they emphasized, came only after private attempts to halt the projects had failed. Princess and lent her support succinctly. The Prince and Princess of Wales have made their position clear. I support them entirely. King Charles, consulted before the statement's release, gave his authorization, suggesting his patience with Sussex-related disruption had reached its limit. By late afternoon, the media landscape had shifted decisively. What might have been Meghan's narrative about royal dysfunction had become a story of William and Catherine defending themselves. Projects in development now face scrutiny not as truth-telling, but as potentially orchestrated campaigns. Media outlets approached with advanced materials reconsidered coverage, unsure whether they were participating in a coordinated effort rather than reporting organic developments. The joint statement had achieved its aim, acknowledging the threat, demonstrating unity, and preemptively undermining the credibility of projects that relied on appearing independent. The cost, however, was significant. The family division was not healing, it was deepening. Reconciliation, if ever possible, now seemed distant. The battle had shifted from private to public, with unpredictable consequences. The immediate practical impact was clear. The documentary and book projects Meghan had developed would enter a fundamentally different environment. Instead of being received as revelations of untold truths, they would be seen through the lens of coordination and intent, diminishing their credibility before public launch. For William and Catherine, the statement marked a turning point in how they would address family conflict. Catherine's 15 years of dignified silence had ended. Boundaries that once might have been absorbed quietly would now trigger public defense. Palace officials emphasized that the statement was preventive as well as reactive. Future coordinated campaigns targeting working royals, especially Catherine, would face exposure, not endurance. The days of interpreting royal silence as acceptance were over. From a broader perspective, the episode illustrated a universal truth. Silence can be a strength, but when it is mistaken for weakness, speaking becomes a necessity. Catherine's years of restraint embodied dignity, but she recognized the point at which continued silence enabled harm. The decision to speak alongside William demonstrated profound partnership. This was not a husband defending his wife while she remained silent. This was a couple jointly protecting their family, their children, and the work she had built through years of dedication. Their unity carried power beyond individual statements. For the monarchy, the statement represented an evolution in crisis management. Previous generations might have avoided public acknowledgement, believing royal dignity required it. William and Catherine chose differently, recognizing that in the digital age, silence can be weaponized, and that preemptive transparency sometimes serves better than reactive denial. The lesson extends beyond royalty. Protecting what you love often requires action that feels uncomfortable. Catherine had never wanted public family conflict, but when faced with a coordinated effort to undermine her work, attack her character, and indirectly target her children, she chose protection over comfort. That courage was different from, but no less remarkable than, the composure she had displayed through years of silent dignity. In the end, the statement was not about attacking anyone. It was about defending everyone they were responsible for. Sometimes, the most compassionate act is to name the harm aloud, calmly and clearly, rather than absorbing it in silence, even when doing so comes at the cost of comfort.